it is that kind of wish fulfillment, right? I mean, we have our pets that we love and we adore. And so many people have a really close relationship with their pets. And then you think, well, take that, but like supercharge it, right? So that's what I feel like you can do in fantasy. And I just think that it's that wish fulfillment. And I think that, you can do some wonderful, amazing things in fantasy where you're exploring like politics and moral and ethical qualms and everything. But I think you can also make people's dreams come true. And if your dream is to have a giant cat, well, hello.
What is up, everybody? You're listening to episode 50 of SFF Addicts. I'm your host, Adrian M. Gibson, and welcome to your weekly dive into the world of science fiction, fantasy, and writing craft. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, the Chewie to my Han Solo, the Joker to my Commander Shepard, my dear MJ Kuhn. What's up, MJ?
Hello. How are you, Adrian?
Doing very well, thank you. And a quick note for everyone watching or listening, the official SFF Addicts Patreon and merch store are live, so check the links in the description to support what we do here. Also, don't forget to rate and review the podcast on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the FanFiAddict YouTube channel where this and every other episode of the show is available in full video. And now, joining us once again, Andrea Stewart, author of the Drowning Empire series. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm glad to have you back. And a heads up to anyone who's listening to this episode, this is part 2 of our 2-part chat with Andrea, so I recommend checking out part 1 to get to know her a bit better. Today, we'll be getting furry, doing a mini masterclass on animal companions. And to get this masterclass started, I just want to know, do you remember the first time, or at least an earlier experience that you can remember, where you read a book or watched a film or TV show and an animal companion really stood out to you in like a holy shit, that's awesome kind of way?
Oh yeah, 100%. That was definitely the Black Stallion. So I was like, one of those horse girls. I was like, oh, horses are so amazing. And then this boy gets like shipwrecked on this island with this horse, and he forms a special relationship with it, and he races it, and they win a bunch of races, and I'm just like, oh, yeah. I was just obsessed with it, definitely.
I mean, other than being like a horse girl and really, really loving Black Stallion, what was it about like the animal itself that struck you in such a way where you're like, I'm just in awe.
Enamored.
So enamored.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. Okay, so first off, he's super pretty, right? Okay.
Check.
Second off, he's like a special horse. So he's like really fast. But he also like doesn't like other people, but he forms a special relationship with this boy who like shouldn't have had access to this horse in the first place, but they got shipwrecked on this island. I mean, there's a whole bunch of wish fulfillment going on there, which is like so attractive to like a lonely kid who's just like sitting around with their books all day, right?
Aww.
So like that, I think really, really struck me. There's the fact that like this animal is special, and the fact that they formed a special relationship that they maybe would not have been able to under normal circumstances.
Are there some other animal companions from fiction or film or TV that you remember that are some of your favorites?
Oh, okay. So Night Eyes from Robin Hobb's books. Oh my God. Like, it's just, yeah, the relationship that they have is like absolutely incredible. I love it so much. Oh gosh, like now I can't remember his name, but there's this giant cat in like Lloyd Alexander's Chronicles of Prydain series. It's when I was a kid. That's like middle grade book, and it's like Fluter Flam, I think is his name. And I don't remember the name of the cat for some reason. But there's this giant cat that just becomes obsessed with him, and I think his heart playing. And it's just like this just giant orange cat. And I thought that was super cool because, again, it's like a special animal, right? It's like, it's not a normal cat. It's a special, big, huge orange one who will come to his defense when he's in danger. Yeah, so that was one. Oh gosh, the dragons and the Dragon Riders of Pern. like that series.
Yes.
And then most especially the Harper Hall series with Mentally, where she's got those little fire lizards, and she had like, why can I not like remember how many she had? It was a lot. She had a lot of them. It was like 7, 9, or 12, like one of those numbers.
I mean, that's really...
It's like a copious amount of lizards. Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And again, it was under circumstances where she should not have had access to them because they're very special. And they like bonded with her very closely. So she shouldn't have had one, much less like whatever the number was. But that was another one that I remember a lot. I'm trying to think. I'm like, I know there are other ones too, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But those are like the big ones, I think.
Yeah, I like the number thing because it's like my son kind of goes from like counts anything more than 10. He skips numbers or he just says a lot. And I'm like, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
that's
it's a lot.
Right? I like it. He's saving time. You're raising an efficient child. That's what's happening here.
Man, that's what it's all about.
It's key. I love it. I love so many of those examples. And I feel like a lot of them have something in common. And it's the same thing that a lot of my favorite animal companions in fiction have in common. And it's that they're set in sci-fi fantasy world. I mean, I know Black Stallion isn't. But, you know, I think that an animal companion is somewhat of a staple in parts of the genre. And do you have any feelings as to why you think it might be so well suited in fantasy? Is it the specialness that's kind of innate to a lot of these animal companions, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of them, there's some kind of magical aspect, whether there's some magical aspect to the bond that they have with their with the person that they're companion to, or whether that's because they have their own magic or they're just like special in some other way. Like the giant cat, because you don't see a giant cat in real life unless you have a Maine Coon, then you do see one. but no, I mean, like I think it is that kind of wish fulfillment, right? I mean, we have our pets that we love and we adore. And so many people have a really close relationship with their pets. And then you think, well, take that, but like supercharge it, right? So like that's what I feel like you can do in fantasy. And I just think that it's that wish fulfillment. And I think that, you can do some wonderful, amazing things in fantasy where you're exploring like politics and moral and ethical qualms and everything. But I think you can also make people's dreams come true. And if your dream is to have a giant cat, well, hello, you can read this book where there's one. Yeah. Oh, that was like another one is the Blue Sword, where she's got like a special horse and a special cat, which is like, yeah, double.
It's checking all of the boxes.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, what are your thoughts on using animals, creatures that exist in our own world versus creating them from whole cloth for a specific world? So it's like, you mentioned giant cats and horses and stuff like that, but then it's also like dragons.
Right.
Or I'm thinking of like Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials series, where all of them have these demons or daemons. I can't remember because they're not actually demons. They're just animals. Where all of them are based on animals that we know and actually exist on our Earth. Or then you have stuff like what you did with the Ocelin in the Drowning Empire series, where you created them from the ground up. So what are your thoughts on that sort of dynamic between animals that are familiar, but then animals that are unfamiliar and new, and readers can come to love them and want to cuddle with them, regardless of the fact that it doesn't exist in our own world?
I mean, I think you can go either way. I think I would caution if you are making up your own is to have a point of comparison so that people don't feel too lost when they're like trying to figure out, well, like what does this animal like look like / feel like / behave like? I mean, I don't think that I kind of feel like, whatever floats your boat, really. It's like if you just really wanted to have like a magical wolf companion, then like, yeah, go ahead, do it. cool. Like I will totally read it and love it. But if you wanted to like make something up, like, yeah, cool, go ahead, do that too. Just make sure that we know what it looks / feels / behaves like, because otherwise it's going to be difficult for me to connect with it, basically.
I need that like frame of reference.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, speaking of creating a creature with a frame of reference, the Ocelin, how did you go about creating this wonderful creature that you created for us in this series?
Well, for reasons that become clear in book 3, I knew that I had to make up a creature.
That fucking twist, Andrea.
Okay.
Girl.
Spoilers, Adrian.
I can't even say twist.
I mean, like I said, like I planned the reveals for the series like from the beginning, and due to the nature of some of what happens in the books, I knew that I had to make something up. So I started like thinking about like, okay, well, it's an aquatic animal. So what is it like an aquatic animal? I'm like, well, it's kind of like an otter, but like he's also got like, longer legs and then like little fingers and, and then I was like, oh, and then they've got these horns and there's a specific reason for that. And yeah, so it was kind of like, I was kind of like doing it backwards in the sense that like, what is like plot relevant? And then I added in things like that I just really liked, like, oh, like, they behave kind of like really mischievous like cats in some ways, because I have a mischievous cat. I didn't have him actually when I wrote these characters, but I had one before that had. I did not. Yeah, I know.
Oh, your cat is so cute. But you also dress him up, so.
I do dress him up in outfits, but he loves it. So, who am I to say no?
Little showman.
Yeah, but yeah, so, I knew that I wanted them to have that kind of personality, especially because like that's kind of personally the personality that I like in an animal. I'm like a sucker for pets that are too smart for their own good, which my poor husband just tolerates. Too smart, too energetic, all up in your face all the time. So yeah, so I kind of like built off of plot elements and then also like just personality elements that I wanted to see in a companion animal.
I love that. Now, do you have a favorite Ocelin?
Oh, it's Meffy. It's obviously Meffy.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
makes sense.
No, I love them all, but you're gonna make me choose a favorite child, then Meffy's my favorite child. So he'll never know, right? They'll
Jovis
never know.
and Meffy, of course.
Yeah.
I know. I love it.
So what are some elements that animal companions can bring to a story that might otherwise be missing or difficult to achieve? I know that the Ocelin are really integral to the world of the Drowning Empire, but do you feel like that there's this like special element that an animal companion can bring to a fantasy world, or to their characters and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that definitely it can humanize your characters a little more, and it can also make them more relatable, because I mean, so many people, I don't know the statistics, but I think a lot of people have pets and can relate to having an animal companion that you're like, one moment you're like, well, this pet's cool, and then the next you're like, I would die for you. So, like I do feel like it brings that kind of feeling of verisimilitude, like that kind of truth where it's like, yes, this is what it's like in any world, whether that world has floating islands or whether that world looks like ours. Like there are creatures that people connect to and like love and will kill somebody for. So I don't think that it's I don't think it's necessary to have. I think that there are a lot of things that you can put into a story that will lend it that feeling of truth. But I do think it is a thing and a tool that you can use.
Yeah, like ride or die, Meffy. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I know. I would die for Meffy. So to create a companion that your readers would die for, like, I feel like as a writer, I haven't even talked to you about this, Adrian, before, but I have tried in one of my recent projects to include an animal companion.
Really? No, you didn't say
Yes.
anything.
And not any of the ones I'm under contract for or anything. Just like one I'm kind of fiddling around with, but I've had so much trouble with it because I had a draft and I gave it to a beta reader and they were like, this and that. And also, what happened to this animal? They just disappeared halfway through. And I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot about the animal. It's like, I just like kind of forgot to keep putting them in. And I feel like, do you have any tips for, crafting an animal companion that is so integral to the world and the story that you can't forget about them, as I did, but also that they feel like a well-rounded character. They don't feel like just a tool or a set dressing in the story.
Okay, so first off, you can fix that in revisions because I don't think that I remember Meffy all the time when I did my first draft. So,
All right. Salvageable.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, I think especially when you're writing fantasy, you've got so many moving parts that like, I don't think anybody sits down and writes a perfect first draft. And if you do, I'm incredibly jealous of you and I hate you.
Right.
So yeah, if you feel like you're kind of losing them in the shuffle, then I think like just going back and fixing that in revisions. Also making their actions like plot relevant, I think is something that helps. So it's like you can't forget them because they're the one that's like helping your main character fight off the enemy, or they're distracting them, or catch somebody's attention in a way that they shouldn't. It's like, I think weaving them into the plot is the way to make sure that they're not forgotten. So making sure that they are relevant to the plot somehow. They're a handy little tool for getting your character into more trouble, right? It's like, well, their life is difficult enough, but now they've got this companion that's maybe, making their life a little bit more difficult in some ways. And that's what you want to do, right? You want to make your character's life as difficult as possible. So, they've got a special horse or something. Maybe their horse needs like special food and they've got to, I'm just spitballing, but you know what I'm saying? Like I think just making sure that your animal companion is kept relevant to the plot.
Yeah, I agree. And do you have some examples from fiction, films, etc., of animal companions that you feel effectively enhance their world, characters, and plot, as opposed to just being? I'm going to throw out an example of something of an animal that I feel is beloved but doesn't do anything, which is Roach from the Witcher series. Roach is great, and it's like, especially after playing the game, like Witcher 2 or 3, it's like, okay, Roach is my boy because he got me around this crazy mess of a continent. But when it comes to the actual, the books or just like the actual like value that this horse adds, it's not like the Black Stallion, It's just like Roach is kind of just there, for Geralt to sit his ass on and get places.
I feel like probably if you played the games, you're probably more attached to Roach than you are if you watch the television show or if you read the books.
Yep.
And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that like an animal companion necessarily has to be like big on the page, I think that it kind of depends on what your goals are when you're writing them. Like, is it a horse that like he just loves and he keeps around, or is it something that is, super, super precious to him, and also like, you need it for the plot. So, I mean, obviously, if you're playing the game, you need him to get around. But I do think like it does humanize him still. Like, I haven't actually read the books and I haven't played the games. I know, terrible, but I have children now.
It's okay.
I
know your pain.
Limited time.
Yeah, I have watched the show in like 20 to 30 minute intervals. And I do think that having this horse does humanize him because he's obviously like fond of the horse. And you don't need to be fond of your horse in that kind of circumstance or in those situations that he finds himself in, but he's still into his horse, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that says something about his character. And I think it's less that the horse is a character and more that it's saying something about him.
True. And are there some other examples that you can think of that for you personally, because it's all really subjective when it comes down to it, as a writer who writes animal companions that affect their world and the characters and the plot in very interwoven ways, are there some other examples that you've come across that you were like really satisfied with what the author or the director achieved?
Yeah, I mean, going back to an earlier example, like Night Eyes in the Robin Hobb series, I don't remember the name of the series. It's like Five Duchies or something. I don't recall. Anyways, yeah, I mean, he's Fitz's companion, and he's very, very integral to Fitz's character into the plot. Because part of the thing is that Fitz has this magic that's forbidden that causes him to bond with animals. And, he has some, I like don't want to like spoil stuff. So I'm like, he has some unsuccessful bonding experiences.
Sounds like modern dating.
No, it's bad. I mean, Robin Hobb breaks your heart like constantly. So just keep that in mind. Until he meets like Night Eyes, and Night Eyes becomes his like constant companion, and they talk to each other, and he like bounces ideas off of him. And I think that is done so well. Like, I don't think that there's a person out there that's like, I could take or leave Night Eyes who reads that series. They're like, oh my God, I love him so much. And anytime anything bad happens to him, I think we all collectively clutch our pearls, right? So
that's a good way of putting it. Clutch your pearls.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you know, like, that's how you gotta know you like succeeded in creating a great animal companion, is when you were just threatening anything to that animal.
Yeah.
Probably arguable. Oh, speaking of animal companions.
There we go. We were waiting for you, Thorin. We were waiting for you, buddy.
He always, I was like, this would be a great episode for him to jump
He's like,
up
gotta make a cameo.
Right? He had to. He knew. He's a paid actor.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening, MJ's cat just showed up and
just leapt on screen.
Yeah.
I love that. So I have an interesting question that I'm curious about. What are your thoughts about writing from the perspective of animals? Because I know, so in the series, you have some speaking animals, but what are your thoughts on writing from the perspective of animals, or like how an author might do that? Like, I'm not sure. How would you tackle that?
Okay, I think that like writing from the perspective of an animal is difficult, but I think it can be done well, like, because you don't want to devolve into like really simple speak, in an effort to say like, hey, it's different from us.
Or like,
but you still want
creature.
you still want to convey that they think and act differently. I think the best example of this I've ever read is Watership Down, which is one of my favorite books ever.
So good.
And it's funny because like these rabbits, they're like talking to each other. They have like a culture. They tell stories.
Yeah.
And yet when they're encountered with certain things, they're so confused because they're like, this is outside of our experience completely. And like, we're just like not bright enough to figure this out. And he like strikes that balance so well between, okay, they're not as smart as we are, but they do like have their own thoughts and feelings. And I just feel like if you want to write from the perspective of an animal, I would so like just scour that book. I just go through it and like just underline things. Like it's amazing. I read it so many times when I was a kid. That was one of the books that I've reread multiple times.
Same.
Yeah, that book is so good in terms of capturing like the feel, like that unique feeling of being an animal. Because like while you were talking about that, I was like, okay, I love Watership Down. And then conversely, there's something like Redwall, like Brian Jacques' Redwall series, which is basically like, they're not animal companions. They're just like animal citizens at that point. but it's
with
kind of
jobs
like
and clothes. Yeah.
with jobs and clothes and food, like plenty of food. But the thing is, like, for that series, obviously there's like some unique mannerisms and stuff like that, which he really nails. But the culture and the perspective of these animals is like everything around them is like through the cultural and societal lens of like, we're animals and everyone else is animals.
Yeah.
But then again, like, you know, the badgers of Salamandastron have like a different speech pattern, which is like more kind of like akin to Scottish, whereas the mice speak in like, you know, very eloquent,
Very posh
British kind of way. So it's kind of like, yeah, like Watership Down really captures the feeling of like being an animal, and I feel like Redwall is like on the flip side of that, where it really captures the feeling of like animals being like
people.
People, yeah. And
Mhm.
on that note, and like, what are your overall thoughts on anthropomorphizing animals, making them feel more human or relatable to our own experiences, and how do you think that can kind of be achieved on the page or through film or television, that kind of thing?
I mean, I think that there's definitely like a sliding scale if you're looking at animal companions of ones that are definitely just animals, but maybe are like a little bit more intelligent. They can talk to them, like Night Eyes. He's a wolf.
Mhm.
He's like not, you know, magical. He just has a magical bond with the main character. And you go all the way over to like, what is it? Her Majesty's Dragon, or is Temeraire, you know, that series,
Yep.
Naomi
Yep.
Novik.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's like very, like, kind of more human in a lot of ways.
Or even Smaug. Like, Smaug is very much like a human kind of within.
Yeah.
Right. A very avaricious one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. But like
Yeah,
within the
saying
body of a dragon.
He's a
Yeah.
modern billionaire is what he is.
Exactly. The Jeff Bezos of Middle Earth.
So
I wasn't going to name names, but
Jeff Bezos of Middle Earth. Right. Yeah, he's like got everything, and yet he just keeps wanting more.
sleeping on his piles of gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
My
like
lonely yacht. Sorry.
I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. I feel like you just go with what feels right to you. I know, like with my characters, like a lot of people didn't think that they were going to talk at first, and then they started talking, and they were surprised by it. But yeah, so I think like you just kind of have to decide, like, where does my animal companion fall on that scale, and just make sure to stay consistent. Unless, like in the case of like, you know, like mine, where they're growing and like becoming more intelligent and more human-like as it goes on. Yeah, I think that it's just important to know where you fall on that scale, or where your animal companion falls on that scale.
Right. And do you
hopefully
think that
we all fall very high on the human side of that
right?
Oh, of course.
We're extremely
Hopefully.
anthropomorphized.
We're barbaric. But do you think because I think fiction for me has always been this empathetic lens. Do you think that anthropomorphizing animals and kind of attributing human qualities to them is an inherently good thing in terms of allowing us to better connect and understand and empathize with animals? But then at the same time, do you think there are like potential failings of this approach when it comes to like our pets or when it comes to our fiction or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we anthropomorphize our pets a lot of the times, even when they're like not, they're not very human.
Little baby, it's like, no, stop it with the baby talk.
Yeah, I know, right?
I will never stop.
I mean, here, this is me, like I'm dressing my cat up in outfits.
True.
But I don't think that it has to be that way, where the more human you make them, the more that we feel like we can relate to them, because people are able to relate to their pets that are not very human, even though we enjoy like laughing at them when they act in human ways, or we dress them up or whatever, we give them little human voices. I don't know. I know other people do that.
I'm just like, oh yeah, I got you.
I do that.
Yeah. I don't think we necessarily need it that way, though. Like, you know, like I was saying with Watership Down, they're definitely very rabbity, and they're not too human-like, but you still very much relate to them because they still have feelings. And I think that that's like maybe an important thing, is just to make sure that your animal companion has feelings of some sort, if that's what you want, if you want them to feel relatable to people. But like I said before too, I don't think that that's necessarily always the goal of an animal companion, is to have them be relatable. Sometimes it's just they're there to reveal something about your characters rather than to reveal something about themselves. So I guess the short answer is just to be intentional about it and to like know what you're trying to accomplish. Because I don't think you need to have an anthropomorphized animal in order for people to relate to it.
Agreed. Just a quick aside. It's like I've been like, I know Andrew is like, once you have kids, you just start to like revisit all the books and things that you read as a kid. And
yeah,
I got Peter Rabbit to read with my son, and it's like this little rabbit like lives under a fir tree, and he's like super posh with his blue jacket with buttons.
He's got his little coat.
Yeah, he's got his little coat and walks around like this. But the moments where my son empathizes with him, and I can see it, there's two moments when he, spoilers for Peter Rabbit. Sorry.
Whoa.
He starts eating all the food in Mr. McGregor's garden, and he gets a stomach ache. And then he has to go like get some parsley or something to cure it. And I'm like, I wish parsley was like that good at curing a stomach ache. But then my son is just like, sees him like holding his tummy, and he's like, oh, like tummy, like ouch, like his tummy hurts kind of thing. And then the other is like at the end of his crazy adventure, he comes back home and he just passes out on the floor. And my son just says like, oh, he's tired. He's tired. And I'm like, yeah, of course he is, man. Like, wouldn't you be tired after getting almost caught by Mr. McGregor? And so it's kind of like, despite all the anthropomorphization of Peter Rabbit throughout the course of this little kid's book, the moments that connect with my son are the moments that are very just like animal and sort of basic in terms of like, you eat bad food, you get a stomach ache.
Right. It's even like the animalistic parts of being human. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like on a day-to-day basis, we eat something bad, we get a stomach ache. Like we go through a shitty day, things are rough, I just want to go home and pass out. And it's really cool to see that that's what he connects with, as opposed to like, oh, his blue jacket and like him looking all posh.
Right.
Well, maybe you just gotta buy your kiddo a blue jacket and he'll connect with that part.
Yeah.
He
and
needs
then
a
go
posh
send him
blue
off
jacket,
on an adventure
Adrian.
in an old man's garden.
Well, maybe not that part.
No.
Maybe we stop at the jacket.
Okay. All right. Just the jacket and the cute little shoes.
There we go. I love it. All right. Let's reel back in. Yeah. Right. Andrea, to close out, if you could have any animal companion in real life, now it can be an animal companion like from a book or a TV show, or you can make one up on the spot.
Giant sloth, perchance.
A giant sloth, right? You could have any animal companion in real life. What would it be and why?
Oh, well, it would definitely be Mephi, because I feel like I wrote like my ideal animal companion in there. And I have a cat who does not talk, but behaves very much like Mephi in a lot of ways. So I feel like I already have my ideal animal companion. And he's super annoying. He's so annoying. Like, yeah. Like if I bend over to like grab anything, he jumps on my back and uses me as a springboard, like things like that.
Yes.
He's always begging for cheese, he's super obnoxious. Yeah, he can open the doors. He likes to play in the toilet. He'll like tries to play in the tub when I'm bathing my kids. Yeah, he's just really mischievous. He gets into a lot of trouble. But he's also like super sweet and affectionate and like just obviously like loves me and I'm like his person. So I feel like I have gotten my ideal animal companion, and he's very soft. That's important. So yeah.
So you wrote Mephi just like with the one thing your cat lacks, like going in water. It's like, I just want you to swim with me. That's all I want.
Yeah, is that the only thing Mephi has that cats have? I'm
of course, Mephi has so much.
I think there's some other features, Adrian.
So basic.
My cat does like water though. He does like water. Like
really?
Yeah, after I bathe my infant daughter, I have to remember to empty out the tub because otherwise he'll fish her toys out and he'll drag them around the house.
Wow.
And I've caught him. I've got a video of him standing in the tub. So all four legs.
Oh my god.
So yeah,
All four legs. He went right in.
He went right in. So he probably doesn't like it as much as Meffy. I'm like 99.9% sure he doesn't like it as much as Meffy. But yeah, this is why we keep our toilet lids closed here too. And I have to tell people because if you don't, then he goes and he starts playing in the water.
Yeah,
and then I just
come back to like Puddles. Used to do that too.
Yeah, I just come back to Puddles in the bathroom. It's terrible.
Yeah. Not even like, I have kids. I don't want them to drown in the toilet. It's like, no, my cat plays.
No, yeah. So I just got in the habit of it. He also figured out how to flush toilets at one point.
Damn.
So he was like doing that in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh god,
right? You're like, what is happening?
Yeah. So that's like my ideal.
Right? Is there a burglar that just really had to pee?
No, I knew it was him. Because I'd seen him do it before. But that was the point where I was like, we have to stop this.
Right.
We have to put a stop to it.
Oh my god.
It's gone too far.
This is the line.
He's gone too far. I have like button ones here now, so he can't get those. But with the lever kind, he was always flushing that. But yeah, so that's like my ideal animal companion. Like they're really kind of obnoxious and get into a lot of trouble. And they're ridiculously enthusiastic about certain food items. But they're also like, they make up for it. You don't kill them because they're super sweet and really cute. So.
Awesome. Great choice. And if anyone wants to see more of Andrea's cat, go check her out on Instagram.
Her handle. I should post more pictures of her.
I think it was like a N7 day or something like that. You have like a little like Mass Effect.
Oh yeah. That was
or like a sweater or something for your cat. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I have matching hoodies with my cat, if that tells you anything. Yeah. About me.
Cat mom. That's what that tells me.
Yeah. That's what comes with like being a parent and like not having time, not having like a life.
I don't have a life. I just like dress my cat up. Like that's my life.
I love it. Priorities, man.
Small victories. Small victories, MJ.
This is how I entertain myself. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Well, that's it for this mini class and our two-parter with Andrea. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat about animal companions with us. It was really fun.
Yeah, thank you for your wonderful questions. They were very thoughtful.
Pleasure, as always. And for anyone who contributes to our Patreon at $10 or more a month, there will be a reading by Andrea from The Bone Shard War. So go check that out. Go pick up the book because it will be out by the time this episode is released. So go read the other two. Read that one. Enjoy the trilogy. And just bask in Meffy's
glory,
his mischievousness and his little shenanigans. Andrea, can you let listeners and viewers know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm at Andrea G. Stewart on Instagram, Twitter, and sadly TikTok now. So. I know I keep saying that. At some point I'll be like, I'll just be like, I'm on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right now.
But today is not that day.
To it still. Yeah.
It comes with a hefty dose of like, shit, what do I do here? Like, what is going on?
I know. I'm like 40 years old. I'm on TikTok doing my best hello fellow kids impression. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. All right. And you can also follow SFF Addicts on Instagram and Twitter at sffaddictspod, or you can follow me at Adrian M. Gibson. MJ, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok as well. We can band together, Andrea. We'll be the millennials of TikTok.
I know.
I'm at right. We're like the old people on there, which is scary.
Yeah, with our side parts and our skinny jeans. My God.
Yeah. I know, right? They're onto us
posers.
Immediately. I know. But yes, across all those, I'm at MJ Kuhn Books.
Oh, brilliant. Well, now keep reading, keep imagining, and we'll see you next time on SFF Addicts.